Chow Time Pod is your host, Red. I got a video today of the same woman that was hating on, the Asian woman that was hating on Asian men. She actually responded to her own video because she was getting so much hate on it. So I'm not exactly sure how she's responding to this video, but I looked through the comments a little bit and it didn't seem like she did much better. So please like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate that. Let's get to the chow. It's chow time, guys.
Hello everyone, my name is Lynn. Welcome to my channel. I made a video recently called Asian Men Are Bitter and That's Why Asian Women Don't Like You. And in that video, I kind of go in on some of these Asian men who tend to have incelish behaviors. And I'm trying to explain that your actions and your attitude are what women are attracted to. So if you act like an incel, then it's no wonder that no women like you. A lot of the comments were like, oh, Asian women ridicule.
Damn. So she's doubling down. She is not, this is not some kind of apology or anything or any self-reflection. She's just straight up doubling down.
Asian men for this and Asian men lost the genetic lottery because blah blah blah. Those comments are just excuses, are trying to blame others for their problems, and are reinforcing this idea that Asian men are inferior. None of the comments seem to have addressed what I really wanted to get to at the heart of that video, which we're going to be talking about today, is why is it that Asian women must date Asian men? That is a question of the day. No.
That wasn't what he asked. He's just, again, the question that the man asked is, why do Asian women like talk about white supremacy and racism, but yet choose to date white men exclusively? This has nothing to do with Asian women have to date Asian men. Asian men don't give a fuck about it, tell you the truth. But we're just curious of why do you spout this racism stuff, but yet you don't choose your own race?
No one mentioned anything about shared cultural values. No one mentioned anything about work ethic. No one mentioned anything about stability and planning for the future, which leads me to think that those people who think that Asian women are obligated to date Asian men should do so simply because it is an Asian man and look at race and nothing else. And that is fuck.
I think that's all implied. When people of the same kin, yeah, most of those things are implied, that you have very similar backgrounds. You have very similar, you know, I can't think of the word right now, values.
Fucking racist. Could you imagine saying that to Black or Latino or white people? Stick to your own race. We need to build up the population of pure-blooded Asians. Don't we think that the white people who are afraid?
That wasn't what was said. I don't know why you're going about, like, she is really projecting that she's quite upset that men or Asians view her this way because she's married to a white guy. Like, we are not upset that you're married to one. It's upsetting that we ask simple questions and then you go dig into a whole race of men and then make a response video to shit on them even more.
Of race mixing and the overtaking of the white majority are racist. And fuck those miscegenation laws that were once illegal up until like the 60s. Imagine what the people who fought against anti-miscegenation would think about is what is happening right now. Stick to your own race?
She's literally grasping at straws. No one said you had to date your own race. No one said this. No one. Where are you getting this argument from?
For what? What obligation do I have to date an Asian man simply because they're Asian? After I made that video, I was very interested to get my mom's perspective on this because all of us, she has 5 children. Only one of us, my brother, is dating a Chinese woman, and the rest of us, girls, are married to white guys. But
what? Did you just... And she wonders why Asian men are asking the question. Like, is there something wrong? Or is like, what's up with this racism stuff if you're still... 4 daughters all married white men. And you're Asian, and the Asian son married an Asian woman. Like, that says something. There is statistics involved in there.
But we have dated Vietnamese people in the past. She herself is mixed. She is half French. And the reason she is half French is because she was born a year before the French left Vietnam. So my mom is a direct product of imperialization, and she was in an arranged marriage with my dad. And I'm not trying to put my family's fucking business out there, but I want to paint a picture with where I'm coming from with this. Because typically what happens with those Asian girls is that it comes from the parents. The parents drill it into their kids so much that they have to assimilate to be white or American, right? That they start to
That is the answer. That the man was asking. Why is it like this? Oh, because their parents, their mothers assimilated them to become white. That's all you had to say. That literally answered the question.
glorify white features, and that's where you get that tension. And when I asked her how she felt about us all having white husbands, she was like, I don't give a fuck. She said, you can't help who you love. And considering that there's not very many Asian people in the US, you can't expect your kids to only go after Asian people. If there's majority white people, it makes sense that your pool of dating can expand to that. She said, I don't care what kind of race you date, as long as you're happy and as long as that person is a good...
Literally contradicted herself. Like, she literally said that your mother told you to value white, like, things, like lighter skin and the white features. You just literally said that. Those are sought after features. And yet your mother says, oh, I don't care who you like or whatever it is. No, it mattered. If it was some other race or some other person, it might have not been the same response.
Person takes care of you, you know, all the list of good qualities that a parent would want their child to find in a partner. I personally have not dated Vietnamese specifically, but some of my older sisters have. She said that she liked that there was no language barrier, that she could communicate more freely in how she wants to communicate without having to expect someone to translate on her behalf. And some of those cultural values were different. She gave the example, my sister's partner observed that they did not have a blender. So he just bought my parents one. He didn't ask if they needed a blender, but he took it upon himself to be generous enough to purchase something like that for them because he wants my parents to have the full necessities of the kitchen. Something like that, you know? A lot of Americans don't do that. But it turns out, not to air out my sister's business, but he turned out to be a total fucking piece of shit. So actually, in that case, just because he's Vietnamese doesn't mean it's all peaches and cream.
No one said it was all peaches and cream. Like, her assumptions are so ridiculous.
You can still be a terrible person even if you are the same race. She mentioned something that was interesting as well, where we see that culture starts to differ from race. She was like, man, it actually kind of sucks to date another Vietnamese person specifically, especially if you have Vietnamese daughters dating Vietnamese sons, because you have that shared culture and the parents tend to come from an immigrant traditional kind of background. That means that you also have to follow all of the traditional relationship shit that comes in the culture, even if you're in the States. So if it's two Vietnamese...
So you're both traditional. Your parents are traditional. They want to do traditional things because you're in the state now. You don't want to do those traditional things. Okay. Well, that makes it that you don't want to date Asians? This is...
Vietnamese people who are dating each other, then it's not just the two of them, it's the parents involved. And if you have a Vietnamese daughter, then you have to impress the son's family so that they can accept your daughter into their family and, you know, this and that. So it's a lot of games being played.
It's not games. It's tradition. You're the one that's playing games. There's a reason why it's like that. Like, you don't even have a clue of your own traditions and why they're that way. Like, the reason why she needs to do that, because she usually, in Asian culture, especially Vietnamese, Cambodian, Thai, when a woman marries into a family, she usually gets assimilated into that family. That's just how it works. Why? Because these people had to pay a dowry most of the time to get married. So if a man wants to marry a woman, he has to drop 40K, 80K, whatever it is to be able to marry that woman, right? Why is that the case? It's not because they're buying the woman. That is not truly the case. The case is they have enough money to give to their family in replacement of a person. And it shows that they have the funds and the means available to take care of this extra person. That's why they do it that way. Like, nowadays, women marry men and have no clue how shit's gonna turn out. Where back in the day, they knew there wasn't going to be financial hardships involved because they came from solid families.
It's a lot of saving face. It's a lot of the stuff that's just kind of fluff. It doesn't actually impact the marriage once the two people...
It impacts it greatly. You're just a freaking idiot. That is so westernized. Like, you think that your parents shouldn't be involved in who you marry? That is probably one of the most important decisions you make. Why wouldn't you want your parents involved into this?
People are alone and have their own family to deal with. My mom was like, and who wants to deal with that? And remember, she has 4 daughters. So she's like, who wants to fucking deal with that 4 different times? What people also don't understand, we're keeping it very...
Modern women don't want responsibility and don't want to do the work. Like, so you rather not deal with traditions because you have 4 daughters, you have to do it 4 times. Like, this would have given your daughters a much better chance of relationships and better men if you were to vet them with them.
Surface level by just focusing on race. When it comes to Asian people, race does not really matter. It matters more about nationality and ethnicity. So when it comes to nationality, we're all in the States. So after that, we go drill down to ethnicity. That's why my mom specifically talks about dating Vietnamese. For instance, I dated a Filipino guy once. It's almost as if you're dating someone of a different race in that case, because the values even between Filipino and Vietnamese people can differ a little bit. They have different traditions.
Again, you just said it, a little bit. Unlike Western culture where it's stark how different it is.
In the Filipino world, and just like how there's different traditions in Vietnamese and Chinese and different ethnic groups within China, so on and so forth. So the fascination of race in the case of dating, specifically with interracial dating with Asians, it is insignificant because not all Asians are the same.
I date Filipinos. I was married to a Vietnamese woman. I date a lot of Vietnamese women. I am Cambodian. The interracial dating between cross Asians happens. I've dated Japanese. I've dated more Asian races than I have other races. I've dated Hispanics, I've dated blacks, I've dated whites. But majority of the women I do date are from Asian descent. You know, I've dated Indian women. You know, I prefer that because, yes, most Asian countries have very similar values, but not exactly the same, but they're similar enough for us to understand each other.
Wow, what a shock. I agree with my mom in that in a country like America, where granted it is a melting pot of cultures, the reality is that there's only so many of different races. So you can't expect, if you're in the minority, that you could find another minority. I mean, obviously it's possible, but I don't think we should automatically jump to dating the same race simply because. If we look at the US population of Asians in America, it's about roughly 6%. And then to further segment that out to men and women, then cut that in half, that's 3%. So in a country where I'm 3% of the population, I should seek out the other 3% simply because they
This makes me laugh so hard. So now women are using numbers and percentages to use against men that, oh, it's such a low number, why should I do it? But when it comes to 6 figures, 6-pack, 6 inches, and being 0.00000% of all men, oh yeah, I could definitely still go for that. I'm still gonna try for that. Why not? Like, I deserve that. But when it comes to It's only 3% of the other race. Like, how do you expect me to do that? Like, what the fuck?
Are the same 3% that I am. I also acknowledge that I'm on the West Coast as well, which tends to have more Asian people in general. My local area has 8% Asian population, which is more than the national average. But if you even want to take it at that, if it's 8, then it's 4%. Why should I go after the 4% when there's 96% of people who may be equally as great of partners and simply cut them off simply because of race? There are plenty of different races that share similar ethics and morals and values to Asian people, and also that's also assuming that an Asian person holds Asian values intrinsically. That may not be true, because there are plenty of bananas out there in the world.
Yeah, that's what you are.
There's nothing wrong with not having Asian values as an Asian person. We're in America. We're not in fucking Asia anymore. Like,
why wouldn't you want the values of your ancestors? Why wouldn't we want the values of your parents? Just because you live in another country, you should discard all your values and all of your traditions? Like, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, you talk about this. Look at the Jewish people. Not talking bad about Jewish people or anything. Look how hard they hold on to their culture even in the United States. They all still go to the mosque. They still all do very Jewish things, right? Even though they live here, they're not trying to lose all their Jewish values. Those are the most important values to them. Like, to lose your core values of your own people is ridiculous. This is the number one thing that my dad was on me about. To never lose your culture or your race. My dad drilled into me to never lose my language. So what did he do? He rented Cambodian dubbed movies, or there were Chinese romance movies that were dubbed in Cambodian or Khmer. And I watched them, and it helped me keep the language because I love sword fighting and kung fu movies. So I watched these movies, but they were all in Cambodian or Khmer. And I would just, when words come up that I didn't know, I just straight up ask my dad, like, oh, what does this mean, Dad? What does this mean, Dad? And he would tell me. And I built up my vocabulary, and I kept my language. My brothers and sisters did not. And I can see the difference of how we are. Because I am so much more traditional than my brother and sister. I am seen as a better, more stable person. At least through the family's eyes and most people's eyes, to tell you the truth. So,
like, that you cannot, and then to even drill down, Asian culture, what does that even mean? I understand that I cannot be fully Vietnamese and I cannot fully be American at the same time. That's what makes culture so unique. So assuming that an Asian person has Asian values contributes to the perpetual foreigner kind of stereotype that is.
I talked about this on the last episode. I think this is why a lot of Asian women do not like Asian men. Because a lot of Asian men do want to keep their traditions and are trained to keep their traditions, and modern women do not want those traditions anymore.
Placed on a lot of Asian Americans. And if you only care about looks instead of the value and character that people have, you care only that your partner has the same eye shape as you do, is so superficial. What the fuck? Like, are you serious? Even taking aside the racial component, that's fucked up to only care about looks when there is so much more to a person. Looks fade. So I think her cultural literacy, even though she was born in the 50s, born in a different country with different intrinsic values from an Eastern perspective, she understands a lot of Western culture, and none of that had anything to do with being white. She understood that it mattered more what country you're in and what values that country has that then influences how people date as opposed to the race itself. All right, so let's use me as an example. I'm Vietnamese American and I was born in the 90s. As far as my interests, I like to play video games, specifically Japanese role-playing games. I like to watch
Japanese role-playing games, and she makes fun of people that watch anime.
Watch Naruto, so I like to watch anime. I like to eat Asian food, but it doesn't have to be, as long as it is high in calories and
I like Asian food. I eat Asian food 90% of the time.
carbs, then I will enjoy it. And as far as music goes, I like to listen to music with screaming in it. So I like to listen to metal, hardcore, punk, what a normal person might call screamo. And what I find is that I connect with other Asian men when it comes to like the weeaboo stuff, like the anime and the video games. But when it comes to my alternative lifestyle of being a little bit more edgy, that's where I start to see less interest.
Yeah, so your modernism is what turns Asian men off.
From Asian men. I'm sure there are plenty of Asian men who have those same interests, but we're talking about America specifically. So let's remember, Asians are 6% of the population. Split that in half. 3% Asian women, 3% Asian men. So there's 3% of Asian men that I could select from. But if I value my partner having similar interests than I do, and it's important to me that when we are in the car,
women, this is how they pick mates. They pick mates through similar interest, not similar values, similar interest. So you have to like the things that I like, or else we can't be together. That's like how does that? Come on, people.
Driving somewhere far or even going to the grocery store, that if I want to put on a song with screaming in it, that he won't mind. It would be preferable that he might like it a little bit too. So then you take that 3%.
Again, see, like look how modern women think. They want us to like all the things that they like or enjoy the things that they enjoy. That ain't gonna happen. Nobody likes all the same shit. Like, why would you want someone that likes everything that you like? That's so boring.
And then you had to drill down even further. And then where do they live? Do they live near me? Are they accessible to me?
She lives in Southern California, I'm pretty sure. She lives in a big Asian population because I live in Southern California. I live in LA. I'm sure she lives in like the Garden Grove area because that's where most Vietnamese are. There's plenty of Asians. I date a lot of Asians. According to her 6%, 3%, I still see plenty of Asians in my area, and I still date plenty of Asians. I match with other races too, but I match with Asians a lot. I just prefer Asians.
If they're not here, would they be willing to move for me? Would I be willing to move for them? And then interest to me is just one very, 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 very shallow part of what I look for in a partner. That person would have to have good qualities to them as a human. It's not enough that they are Asian and that they like the same music as I do, because those are superficial qualities. I want them to.
Yeah, but yet you made it pretty important that they should like the same interests that you do.
To be good people who are compatible with me as a person. Drill down even further. So what really are my options? Asian men may not like that I have a lot of tattoos. Doing the robot here. Asian men may not like my weight. They might.
I don't think it's just Asian men. I believe most men nowadays aren't they're not gonna wife up someone with that many tattoos most of the time.
Think I'm too fat for them. Asian men may not like that I wear makeup. Asian men may not like that I curse so fucking much. And those qualities have nothing, absolutely.
I don't think those have anything to do with Asian men. Those are just men in general.
Nothing to do with me being Asian. How can you tell me and other people who may be like me or may have similar kinds of dilemmas with finding a person who they're really compatible with that they should only date within their race? Isn't it hard enough to just date in general? Do I have to start filtering out by race? Like, I've never used Tinder before, but is there an option to filter out all of your results that you get by race? And you check, okay, I want only white, or I only want black, or I only want Middle Eastern.
Yes,
or
you can do that.
We should not look at people as simply for what they look like and what their race is. People have very unique cultures and ways that they were brought up in life, their lifestyle choices that they make.
Sign language.
And some are objectively better than others. I personally would not want to date a loser incel who complains on the internet all the time about how the same women of their same race don't want to date them. Also,
He didn't complain. He said, please, can you touch on this topic of Asian women complaining about racism and white supremacy, but yet they exclusively date white men. That had nothing to do with him being desperate or anything like that. He wanted to understand the contradiction of Asian women spouting out racism and white supremacy to white people when they are constantly dating white people. We're just questioning the hypocrisy of that.
Before I wrap up this video, I have one thing to say for the commenters who, you can say anything about me. People said that I was a disgusting human being, but the moment you mention my fucking husband and try to attack him simply because you don't like my opinion, that is where I draw the line. I will not tolerate disrespect to my husband because he has nothing to do with this conversation. So if you leave comments...
You say that, but you just literally destroyed all Asian men. And don't you think those Asian men are somebody's husband, somebody's father, somebody's brother also? Well, when it affects your husband in particular, it matters.
Like that, and you think it's okay to say shit like that, then go fuck yourself. Literally, fuck you. It reveals to me that you are such a miserable person that you don't like what someone else has to say, that you start to attack everything about them, including the innocent people in their lives who are good people. Just because you don't like what someone has to say, you don't know me. You only know the persona that I put out.
You know the contradictory of this, right? You literally attacked a person because you didn't like what they asked you. And you didn't just attack him, you attacked almost everything about him. Literally to his core features.
On my videos, and I try to be as real as possible, but you can only get to know someone through a camera in a few minutes with your own personal bias already going into the video. So don't try to claim to say anything about my fucking husband. You can leave all your comments all you want about me. Go ahead. But don't ever say anything about my husband on my platform. My husband is supportive. He takes care of me. He is considerate of me. He
he's probably
is intelligent. He works his fucking ass off. He is hilarious. And he is a wonderful human being.
Sure.
And I will never let anyone reduce him to his race just because he is white. I don't look at him as...
Just like I'm sure most Asian women wouldn't want you to reduce Asian men, which are their husbands, to just a race also. Do you realize the things that you're doing?
A white person, because I don't care about that shit. I care about him for all the reasons that I just mentioned. Do those things have anything to do with being white? I don't think.
Women, you don't think his looks mattered in the beginning? Like, what the fuck? You think all those things were plastered on his face when you first met him? No. Like, his features and his looks was what attracted you to him in the first place, which he happens to be white.
I think so. And if you think that certain personality types are tied to race specifically, then that makes you a racist person. You think it's okay to reduce people to their race because...
You just literally did that.
Because that's the only way that you can feel better about yourself. And I don't care what race you are if you're commenting that kind of bullshit. Bullshit is bullshit, period. No matter what race you are. You're a fucking racist, miserable piece of shit. I've said it before and I'll say it again. And I will keep saying
it's really projecting,
as long as
isn't
there are
she?
people who think it's okay to leave nasty comments like that. It's not your race, but it's your attitude and your actions that make you unappealing to women. And you wonder why no one likes you. Anyway, that was kind of a follow-up to the video that I made before. I still stand by what I said. And I understand that people who are angry like that will always be angry. People who are miserable just love to be fucking loud and just comment shit. So it's okay. I feel secure in myself.
You're loud. You're commenting shit.
I'm the one that's married here, not like these people who seem to be single and leave fucking comments on YouTube. So there's that. But anyway, if you like this video, then make sure to give this video a like. If you really like this video and you would like to support me as a content creator, then you can give this video a super thanks. That would be super appreciated.
How was that child, guys? I mean, look at her. Just talking about shit, even asking for donations for her super thanks and stuff after all of that. She literally just berated one guy off of his own race and everything about his race, just like she was complaining about how people were commenting about her husband because he's white and his race. Like, do you not realize the hypocrisy in the shit you're talking about? And like, there's a comment down below. You know what? Let's go through the comments a little bit because the comments are pretty hilarious. Oh, I like. Let's look at this one. I won't let anyone reduce my husband to just race, then reduce Asian men into people unfit of hygiene and love. Edited. Notice how a comment got more likes than the actual video in less time. So we got 372 likes on this comment, and she only got 213 likes on the actual video. A lot of people think this is quite retarded. I don't want to say my bad on the word, but ridiculous. You know, it's like there's so much hate on the video. I mean, she's doing well because of the hate, but it's just so funny. Yeah, women, at least these types of women that literally berate a whole race, and when someone talks about, you know, someone to about them, and then they use the whole race card on themselves. So it is what it is. I guess I think it was kind of funny, just like her defending herself made herself look even worse. Please like and subscribe down below. I really appreciate you guys. And oh yeah, I'm very close to 1,000. I love you guys. Let's get to it by the end of the week. That's the goal. And I'll catch you guys next time. It's chow time.